Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Redmen TV and a bit of a special show for you. My name is Dan Clubb. I'm delighted to be joined by Caroline and Mark for this one. First off, guys, thanks so much for joining me. How are you? Okay?
We're great, Dan. How are you?
How are you, Dan?
I'm all good. Yes, that is a
We can be more happy than now
Premier League
after the
champions.
week.
Yeah. What's not to love about that? What's not to love about that? Yeah, we're here to speak about your football fandom and your chosen clubs, and one night in particular, which was now 20 years ago, which is mad in itself.
Yep.
Let's do it though. Caroline, I'll come to you first if you don't mind.
Sure.
AC Milan fan, how, why?
Well, you know what? Bringing up that final is a day of nightmares for me. I know this is a Liverpool fan channel, so I'm sure that the feelings on your end, my dad's end, everyone watching is different. But for me, I grew up, I started playing football at the age of 10. And by the time I was 14, I made it into our Canadian national team program. That's where we're from. Canada.
Mhm.
So that's when I really started to immerse myself in the sport of football. And I'm sure everyone here remembers that AC Milan team in the 2000s, right? Like it was so special. And there was one player in particular, his name was Kaká. I have his kit here right behind me, who made me fall so deeply in love with not only the sport, but the position of being in the midfield. Like he just was incredible. So I became a massive, massive AC Milan fan. And to my dad's disappointment, because he's a diehard Liverpool fan. So he kept on saying, like, how can you pick AC Milan? How can you pick this Italian club when I'm a Liverpool fan? Like, how? And for me, it was love at first sight. Shevchenko, Crespo, Kaká, Maldini, Cafu, Dida, Seedorf. The list goes on that AC Milan team. And I'm sorry, Dad. I had to kind of go against the family. 2005 Champions League final made me regret it slightly, but I'm a Milanista to the day I die.
Yeah, excellent. And for you, Mark, obviously you're Polish, I think I'm right in saying
Yep.
originally, yeah, yeah. And obviously you live in Canada now. For you, Mark, how did Liverpool come about?
Um, so what happened early 70s? I don't know. You probably don't know that, but Poland play England in the qualification of World Cup, and England lost to nothing in Poland, and they need tie in England in Wembley to qualify to 1970 for World Cup, and they did. So from that, I start watching Premier League,
Okay.
even maybe early, but you gotta remember, I born in communist country, so we didn't have that much games in TV, but I was reading a lot. I was reading every newspaper, and was that time, those 70s was Liverpool, and of course then you realize, okay, John Toshak playing down there, Roy Clemens, then you have Kevin Keegan, all those players you watch and they play for Liverpool, you become fan.
Yeah.
And also that time in Poland was kind of like bet 365, that idea, and was Premier League games, So I start playing that. And believe or not, I know everything about each British club,
He does.
because to win money, you need to know.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's
that's
true.
how, and Liverpool was amazing. And that's how, in the end up big fan of Liverpool.
I absolutely love that. And did you try and convert, Caroline? Did you try and steer away from AC Milan? Did you try your best?
Yes, I always say, Caroline, I remember Caroline's one of the goalie coaches in the national program was guy who is also Liverpool fan, and he was British, English, and always I go to him and talk to him, and I say, "Can you believe Caroline is AC Milan fan and not Liverpool?" So he even always, after Caroline's practices, he went to Caroline, always make jokes. Eddie Cahill,
Oh,
remember that?
100%.
Yeah.
Shout out to Coach Eddie, but 100%. So basically, what my dad is saying, him and my goalie coach would, or not my goalie coach, but the goalie coach
Yeah.
would talk smack behind my back because in their opinion, chose the wrong club. But my dad has never, till this day, let me live it down. So he's tried to convert me my whole life.
Yeah, for what it's worth, you chose the wrong club, Caroline. No, it's interesting that though, because the Canadian Liverpool connection. I know obviously you're Polish and obviously you were born in Canada, but we've got Liv Smith now, obviously Liverpool women's team, whose dad is another massive Liverpool fan, and she's kind of living the dream now, playing at Anfield. So yeah, fascinating stuff. And right then, take us back to that night, 2005. Finals in Istanbul. Caroline, you're an AC Milan fan. Marek, you're obviously a Liverpool fan. Caroline, from your perspective, tell us about your memories of that day and the build-up and the preparation.
Well, it's crazy because everyone knew that Milan was the heavy favorite, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you just know the star power and the pack that they punch. Like they're just incredible. And then you have well, before we get into the game, I remember that day, obviously living in Canada, the Champions League finals earlier in the day for us. So I said to my parents, I have to come home from school early because I can't miss a minute of this match. Thankfully, I have the best parents in the world who said, no problem. Obviously, this is like a special occasion. I remember I went to McDonald's. I got my meal because you know what I said? This is going to be a dinner and a movie. We're going to have a dinner and a movie. I know my team's going to win and I'm going to enjoy every single minute of it, enjoying the food that I like. And that first half was magical for me. I think Maldini, first minute, he scored. Kaká, two through balls that I thought were incredible. You know, Crespo getting on the end of two. It was just an incredible start to the game. And my dad wasn't home. My dad, very hardest worker I know, had his own landscaping company. And he was at the start of his landscaping season. So he had to be outside grinding, doing hard labor. So he wasn't able to watch that Champions League game, but he said, do not tell me the score.
And record the game.
And record the game. Because back in the day, you can do that, right?
Yeah,
like we had those old VCRs. So I'm like, it's halftime. And I'm like, how do I not pick up my phone and call my dad and troll him? Because this is what we did to each other. Anytime Milan would have a bad game or a bad moment, my dad would pick up the phone and call me. So now I was like, I can't tell him the score, but I'm going to let him know that like we're on top. I called my dad. I'm like, have you heard the score? He's like, don't tell me. He's kind of getting mad. And I said, oh, okay. Like if you have a second, just check it out. So I think my dad had a feeling that Milan was winning.
But also, I said, how is Jerzy Dudek doing? And Caroline says, you know that he's good, you know. But she just like whine with her voices.
Well, that was after Liverpool started making the comeback.
Yeah, but you know, she said, no, he's okay. So I start realizing something is going on.
He was busy.
Honestly,
he was taking
Dan,
the ball out the back of the net. That's what he was doing.
When Gerrard scored that goal, in my mind, I was like, we watched the highlights before we did this episode just to kind of remember what it was like. And I remember watching that again as a 14-year-old and being like, there's no way they come back. Like, of course, that was an insane header from Gerrard. There's no way. 2 goals in 2 minutes.
No, but don't you realize after when Gerrard score, he get that ball.
Yeah,
everybody
and he's like
get kind of
up.
excited. Yeah. Like it's 3-1. Again, you playing final against
the
Italian
big dogs. Yep.
Big club. You know, we all know they are masters in defense.
Yep.
And you know how this can be 3-2 even or 3-3. That like you don't think, but that Gerrard grabbed that ball after when he scored and he runs to the middle of the field. And, you know, already was kind of that feeling.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, 100 for Liverpool fans, 100%. For me, I was like, oh my God, there's no way. But it's that like you get instant anxiety. Like, ooh, is it possible? Then you get 2 goals in 2 minutes and you're like, oh my goodness, you know, Liverpool has momentum. And then that penalty, honest to God, till this day, Dan, talking about it brings back such funny memories because like at the end of the day, my dad and I, we have fun, but it's anxiety because my dad has not let me live that day down.
So after I don't know, like when they went to break, I called like 45 minutes later. I called Caroline because she's not calling me. I don't feel anything. I said, I'm going to call her. And I'm calling her and she's not picking up. So
Right.
then you start thinking something happened. You have a teenager at home. I don't know, maybe something happened to her. Then I'm calling again. No pickup, nothing. And
And then you go to penalties.
yes.
Shevchenko. Oh,
And I'm not knowing anything. It's 3-3. I don't know the score. I didn't know they went to the penalty. It was overtime. I didn't know nothing.
and you know what? Like the Polish in me, I'm happy for Dudek, but I'm like, it had to be that moment, Dudek. It had to be Shevchenko. And I believe Shevchenko tried to hit the Panenka. I don't like just that entire sequence. When I say lives rent free in my mind till this day, I'm 34 this year. It does. But that is why essentially, because everyone goes like, how do you not love Liverpool? And it's not that I have this deep hatred towards Liverpool. I don't at all. It's just there's such an intense rivalry between, again, this is my best football buddy. My dad and I are best friends. It's so intense that it's just like, since that moment, especially, I haven't been able to, even though we've had redemption, I haven't been able to fully like open my heart to the club until this year, I would say. I'm really starting to become soft to Liverpool now. But prior to that, it was 30. Yeah, it was a strong 20 years.
I also keep telling her, I say, listen, Caroline, when Klopp arrived to Liverpool, I say, you gotta, I watch Klopp because he's got 3 players in Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah.
3 Polish players. So when he came to Liverpool, I said, Caroline, you gotta watch this coach. I said, he is in the best club right now, and he's the best coach. I have a couple friends from Liverpool. And so we talk every time we go for MLS game, we are talking about how good happened to Liverpool hire the club. And I was convinced, Caroline, I say, you should, now's going to be the best time ever. And
I didn't jump on board.
You didn't jump.
No, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. Ancelotti till I die. I still to this day won't say a bad word about Ancelotti, even at Real Madrid in the dark days for them. He's my ride or die.
Yeah, he could be on the move soon. He could be available again soon.
Yeah,
Carlo.
well, we'll see what happens. Hey, maybe
possibly. Brazil looks like absolutely it does. You both mentioned Jersey Dudek there, and I wanted to ask you both about that. Obviously, with your poll list links, but that double save, not just the penalty shootout, but that double save in normal time. Caroline, I'll come to you and I've never seen anything quite like that. And although obviously you're a massive AC Milan fan, you want AC Milan to win, you can't quite believe what you're watching. Even you at that point must go, yeah, fair play. That's unbelievable.
100%. And again, like it goes down to my Polish roots. I'm raised in a very traditional Polish household full of our Polish culture and tradition. And, in a house where my dad made me watch an hour of Polish news a day, even though I lived in Toronto, Canada, or I went to Polish school every single Saturday for 8 years, like very, very beautiful Polish household. So the Polish in me, you're naturally going to be so happy for Dudek. But again, like I go back, like why that moment? Why that game? Like let my club win. But no, like you think about back to it now and you're just happy for him because he had a great career. Dad, you've watched Poland longer than me. You would probably assume that Dudek has cemented himself as probably one of the best Polish goalkeepers, right?
Yes, and very good person. He after I was when he finished his career, people still asking him about that Dudek dance penalty, save, really very good save, end of the overtime, again from Shevchenko. And he says one of the questions was how he feel after. He says, I still don't understand why people making that big deal. That's normal for goalie. I think that was so nice of him saying that.
He's humble.
He's humble. Yeah, that's very, very, very good person. And you could say, oh yeah, that was my best ever. He didn't say that. He just very humble person. Yeah.
And one thing I'll always say about our Polish national team, and my dad got to see Poland in like the glory days for them, at least in my lifetime, I've never seen Poland kind of achieve what I'd like them to achieve in terms of even just a quality football team. Like every time I watch them in the Euro or the World Cup, I'm just like, they're just so and forgive me, they're bad. I don't like the style of play. I don't think they're quality. I think they have quality players. Lewandowski obviously goes without being said, one of the best number nines of our generation. It's just so frustrating for me that they don't utilize the players, you know, Zielinski, Lewandowski, Matty Cash. Like they have players, Stjounsna right now, who's at Barcelona. Just they could be so much better. But my dad had always told me, you know, one thing Poland has is goalkeepers. And yeah, you see that at Stjounsna, his time at Arsenal, now coming back to Barcelona. Jerzy Dudek.
Then West Ham United.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, what's his name?
Fabianski.
Yeah,
Fabianski,
Fabianski. Yeah, I actually have a West Ham signed jersey from him right here.
Leicester has Polish goalie.
So my dad had
And-
always told me, you know, like Poland's kind of on the struggle bus for like the last couple decades, but the goalkeepers is something that they always produce. So I'm not like, I wasn't surprised that Dudek is having this unbelievable performance because I'm like, yeah, you know, that's the quality in a Polish goalkeeper. But at the same time, I was just so frustrated it had to be against my club.
but also, Dan, I have to tell you, I don't know if you know that, but one of the years in Toronto, when Toronto joined the MLS League, Liverpool came in summer games.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Caroline couldn't go with me because she was in football scholarship in States, in US. So I took my son and we're sitting watching the game. And before us was father, maybe 40 years old, with son 13 years old. And he was telling him story about Liverpool. And I said to my son, listen to this guy, because whatever he's saying, I feel that and I remember these moments. And that was so beautiful. The guy has completely knowledge and we both, me and my son, we just listening that guy telling him history of Liverpool. That was so nice.
My dad is a true diehard fan, and when you guys just recently won the Premier League, like the guy was watching from the television crying, you know, having his moments, you know, you're talking to a true Liverpool fan here in Canada. And for everyone listening and watching, you know, he's I don't know what you like, a Liverpool till you die, hey?
Oh yeah, no, it's good club, amazing club with everything, with everything. Hire the best coaches and you know players. Look at those fans, you know, like you like you know when I watch the game, I have to have half an hour before. I have to listen all interviews. For me, it's important what Van Dijk gonna say about offside or that handball. What that player from Arsenal stopped. You remember?
Odegaard.
Yeah, I remember.
I have to listen everybody's opinion on that. I just love it.
Isn't it interesting how Arsenal says the refs are against them, and then Odegaard was caught playing in the NBA in the box, hey?
Yeah, no comment on that. It's water under the bridge now, water under the bridge. We've won the Premier League, it's all good.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Just sort of finally on the match before we move on to sort of what happened next. Obviously, we've watched the penalties. Jerzy Dudek is a hero. Shevchenko's missed. He always looked like he was going to miss, by the way. He didn't look happy walking up to that ball.
Yeah, he looked stressed.
His face looked, he looked in a bad way. But so you're at home, Caroline, you've watched it. Did you then ring your dad to tell him what happened? At what point did you see each other again? How did that all happen?
It's a great question. My dad kept calling me. And like he said, I wasn't answering. So he was probably at this point, like, I think he anticipated that Liverpool did something crazy. To assume that Liverpool had tied the match and then won on penalties is crazy, because that would be a crazy thing to do in a Champions League final, right? But then at some point I picked up the phone and my dad, I think at that point, had found out that Liverpool had won. And he just my dad is just the biggest jokester. So he was just saying things intentionally that he knew, like, I told you to join Liverpool. I told you this would happen. How could you score 3 goals in the first half and lose a match? Like that kind of stuff. And my dad and I are the exact same people. So I just obviously, you know, was listening to it, not being happy. And then we got off the phone. My dad came home from work and he was glued to the TV watching the highlights, and I was sick to my stomach. I actually told my mom, I said, I can't go to school tomorrow. Like, I need a day off to recover. again, I have the best parents. I didn't go to school. But I just needed to like mentally, anyone who's a true football fan understands that feeling of just feeling sick to your stomach. And that's how I felt.
I mean, especially having witnessed that, because that is, you
Yes.
touched upon it there. That's a miracle. That shouldn't happen. Like,
I
it
mean,
just shouldn't
Dan,
happen.
the first minute of the game, Milan scores. The
Mm.
first minute, Maldini, our guy, our captain, the hero of San Siro, he gets one into the back of the net. Like you, in that first minute, mentally, Milan fans we're holding up the Champions League
Yeah.
trophy.
And take the quality in
Unbelievable
AC
side.
Milan. That was
Unbelievable. Yeah.
complete team.
Yes.
With
Man for
everything.
man for man, a much
You-
better team than Liverpool. Much better.
Yeah, like Dida
you know,
even
3-0. People leave the stands because it's 3-0. We're not gonna win.
Yeah, like
And
even Dida saving Xabi Alonso's penalty, and then obviously Alonso got the rebound, but like Dida was so clutch. Like I just remember him in my child. I'm like, wow, this is the best goalkeeper in the world. Just like those moments and how Liverpool still managed to win.
no, having Maldini,
Yeah,
Jesus, this is the
the best
best
left back.
that left back, you know, and having Crespo, having Shevchenko, having Kaka. This four players should win that
Yeah.
game for them.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just to rewatching those highlights today, I remember Kaká in my child. Again, I told you he made me fall in love with the sport, but just watching him again, and you kind of compare football from the past to modern day football. I miss a player like Kaká, like how he turned that one player on AC Milan's third goal, and turned him and found that ball and just perfectly placed it into Crespo's path. You just don't see that as often anymore. And that Milan team was so special. And everyone asks me now, you know, it must be so hard watching Milan. And I'm not going to lie, it's not the same as obviously back in the 2000s. But as a diehard fan, you never leave your club. And we've had, you know, a decade of darkness. But it's just that's the quality that you remember. Those are the highs you remember. And the highs come with the lows. But yes, that start of that Champions League final, Dan, I'll never forget it. And then how quickly it dipped was the most terrifying roller coaster ride a football fan could go on.
Yeah,
Until I would say that was the best sporting match I've ever seen until our last World Cup final.
Yeah, it's interesting that, isn't it? Because as you just touched upon there, like if you weren't an AC Milan fan, if you were just a
Yes.
neutral watching that game who had no foot in either camp,
Yes.
you could just enjoy that for the football
Yes.
spectacle that it was.
Big time.
But as an AC Milan fan, you weren't allowed. We weren't
Oh my God, I was
allowed.
sick.
Yeah, we weren't allowed for 45 minutes. It was a nightmare for Liverpool fans for the first half, and all of a
Well,
sudden,
Dan, yeah, you tell me, you know, you being a Liverpool fan and you guys, congratulations, you've built such successful channels. You must have been
Yeah.
sick to your stomach at the
yeah,
first
you
half.
just can't believe what you're watching, really. Although you mentioned the quality of the AC Milan team, and I said it earlier on, I do think man for man, that is a better team than what Liverpool had out on the night. But we had Steven Gerrard ultimately, so that always gives you a chance. But yeah, you just don't expect it because we've kind of found ourselves there a little bit. We weren't great in terms of the route to it. Obviously, there was a Chelsea game, the Garcia goal, but we weren't a brilliant team. We weren't great in the league that year. We just kind of got there by hook or by crook. And then you watch that and you think, okay, reality hits home a little bit, doesn't it? And then you watch the second half and you just can't believe what you're watching, basically.
But you know what? You mentioned Gerrard, and hold on, Dad, I'll let you go in a second. I just don't want to forget this.
No.
Header that he scored, you knew you didn't want to believe it as a Milan fan because you're like, there's no way. But when you see it again, even on a replay, if you go and watch it now, the distance, the power, the placement, his reaction, like my dad spoke to, how he got the ball, how he amped up the crowd, that was a special kind of header. That wasn't just your typical, I'm getting in on the end of the ball, jump up for it. That was a game-changing type of goal. And I love Steven Gerrard, but that made that entire sequence. I'm good without it.
So what I have to mention, you guys forgot, Shevchenko and Dudek, they are both East European players. So picture now, every time they meet together and they talk because Shevchenko is in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Dudek is in Poland. Time to time, I believe they see each other. And
Probably.
Dudek must be very happy.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe Shevchenko has to buy beer all the time for
Probably
him.
vodka. Probably a nice shot of vodka.
Yeah, probably.
So that was also for me to watch that save from Dudek kind something very huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, yeah, you do start to get the feeling, and it's easy to say now with the knowledge of what happened. But when you look back at the events and the major talking points and the key moments of that night, I can sit here, and many people have said to me in the past few weeks, you do start to wonder whether Liverpool's name was written on that trophy somewhere, because that sort of stuff just doesn't happen in normal life.
Doesn't.
So
Yeah.
you do start to wonder whether it was, like I say, in the gods a little bit. You mentioned earlier on, Caroline, how AC Milan got redemption, revenge. I wanted to ask you about 2007 because whilst it was nowhere near as exciting for you and with your dad in mind, it must have been all that much sweeter.
You know, everyone tells me, Caroline, don't be so bitter because you guys got redemption. But the pain of 2005, like nothing can kind of put a band-aid on that. And of course, like it's like Milan fans know, like we know in our hearts 2005 should have been ours. And that's full credit to Liverpool. I definitely think at the end of the day, that trophy was yours to lift based on that comeback. Unbelievable. But it's like we know in our heart of hearts, again, you speak, you know, man to man, how good Milan was back in that time. It should have been theirs, so that we almost were like, okay, 2007 comes along, repeat, this will be ours. But the pain that I personally felt in that 2005 Champions League final, and again, this rivalry that my dad and I have, you know, kind of contrived for ourselves, nothing gets me out of that. Of course, was I happy? Sure, you're going to celebrate it. But I think just the context of 2005, the 3-0 up at half, 3-0 up at half, to then Liverpool, you know, equalizing it, to then winning on penalties and the drama of it all, nothing compares to that. Again, until the World Cup final, I was a neutral fan in the World Cup final, so I got to enjoy that as just a sports fan. But I do think that that had shades of the 2005 Champions League final. But 07 was nice, but it doesn't fix 05 by any means for me.
I'll take that answer all day long, to be honest with you. I'm more than happy with that. Mark, I'll come to you, just sort of obviously having lived 2005, having lived as a Liverpool fan ever since, really, with Caroline's AC Milan fan. We've had some up and down times. Caroline mentioned the 10 years of darkness. Liverpool have had a little bit of that as well, it's fair to say. Jurgen Klopp ended it all and brought the light. This year, we just won the Premier League as well. Just talk to me about what it's been like to be a Liverpool fan recently.
How does it feel to be a Liverpool fan?
I'm very proud. Like I told you, Klopp, I watched Klopp for a long time. The day when Liverpool hired that coach, we are on MLS game against Toronto. I have been behind me couple people from Liverpool, and basically all the game we watch, we talk about how good Liverpool was hiring Klopp. And then that was, you know, you start watching and they winning, the way they play. Even why I love Liverpool, because even if they lose, you know, you get up from that seat and you says, oh, they actually did not bad. They left their heart on the field. They playing serious. They don't fake. They play really good game. And you know, time to time you gotta lose, I guess. And this year was kind funny also, because not that many coaches win Premier League in first year.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with Arne Slot, what he did, making Gravenberg starter. You remember, he was bench player in Klopp squad, and every time I couldn't believe Slot did that, and for at least 10 games, I couldn't understand why Gravenberg is there. And you know what? Then end of that season, this player was amazing. He was amazing midfielder with everything what he's done. I think that was the best choice what Arne Slot did.
Love that.
I think so. That. That's what I think that's why Liverpool win the Premier League, because that he was amazing.
Yeah, he was, and we needed someone there.
Even how Arne Slot revived Cody Gakpo. Like I told my dad, I watched every single game of the last Euro, and I told my dad, I think Cody Gakpo scored a goal in every single group stage game. And I remember when he signed to Liverpool, he kind of quieted down a little bit. And then now under Arne Slot, you kind of have this revived Cody Gakpo. He's been incredible. You know, Van Dijk's always incredible. We love Van Dijk in this household. So, but just like the Dutch guys that Arne Slot has elevated, Mo Salah from last season to this season.
With Caroline, who was the best in that team? You know, you can choose. Everybody was, you know,
Absolutely.
like even Andy Robertson, you know, like I love that defender. You know, he's flying. He's like attacking. He is better than Nunes. You know,
well, yeah, but I can't argue with that.
Not taking anything from Nunes. You know, he bring that. He always bring that when he goes to the field. He bring that excitement, and we know always something's gonna happen.
Yeah, like a missed open goal.
But
normally,
it's also
kidding.
Konate. I just, you know, I watch Konate and I said to Caroline, this guy learned so much from Van Dijk, like you couldn't believe, and always like Trent Arnold. This he was criticized. Okay, he scored the goals, but he's not really good in defending. I just didn't criticize that because as defender you make mistakes, but this guy can also change the game as defender. It's every player down there brings something.
Yeah, that's Liverpool.
Just completely. It's you can't say who is number one.
No, you cannot. You absolutely can't. Apart from Alisson Becker, in my eyes. Caroline, just quickly on AC Milan. Just being an AC Milan fan these days. It's been 20 years since that night in Istanbul. Tell us what it's like now being a Milanista.
You know, it's not as electric. Serie A in general, like when I was growing up, the Italian league was the league. Every Sunday when we turned on TLN, I don't care if Milan was playing or, you know, Inter, Juventus, I was watching every game with my dad. Serie A's changed. I think it's making a comeback now. Like you see, obviously we're about to watch Inter versus Barcelona. Inter, unbelievable defensive team, you know, just what they've done. Juventus kind of like, it was a little disappointing. Anyways, we won't get into all the Italian teams, but Serie A is making a comeback. Milan not having their best year, coaching problems, you know, player changes need to be made, but it's not the same. But again, as a diehard, as someone who used to patch their logos onto all my sweaters, onto all my jackets, you know, back in the day, you'd have Messenger, MSN Messenger. My name and pictures were always full of, I think my name at some point was like Shevchenko plus Kaká plus Crespo equals heart. Like, you know, that was my whole thing back in the day. So that never leaves you. But every club, every fan base goes through the ups and downs. And it would be a shame to kind of walk away from Milan when they're not experiencing those highs. And then who knows, in 10, 15 years, they're back to where they were, you know, in the early 2000s. For that to happen, obviously, I think management needs to do something and we need some higher quality players. But even if you're looking at Christian Pulisic, which is obviously a player on the U.S. men's national team, they call him Captain America. He came into Serie A. AC Milan basically got him for a very, very good deal. And he's been one of the best standout players. So I'm happy to kind of see like some of these North American players go into Serie A and make an impact. And we'll see what happens.
I have to tell you, Dan, one time Caroline came from school and was game Juventus versus AC Milan, and her math teacher was big fan of Juventus, and Caroline says, "Listen, you guys gonna lose 4-2 or something." So I'm coming home from work, checking my answer machine, and it's 20 phone calls calling Caroline and saying how good she is, how she knows that score. She predict that score, and that math teacher was completely upset and didn't like Caroline for the rest of high school.
That was kind of a risky move on my part because he could have definitely brought me down from an A to a C. But no, I always, this one thing about me and how I've built my social channels is I don't have a problem arguing or saying controversial things or giving my like honest full take on football and teams. So that's one thing about me. I've never shied away from it.
And me as being father, I have a son, and you know what? We never have kind football relationship, but this is the girl born and we start going together to watching games, every games in TV, 10 years old, 11 years old, and that relationship is until today.
Yeah. Honestly, like I'll this is why, and Dan, I'll quickly tell you this is why this year in particular, and I never thought I'd be saying this, 14-year-old Caroline wouldn't believe me right now. This is why I've kind of had a soft spot to Liverpool this year, because watching my dad's reaction to Liverpool lifting the Premier League trophy, he was so emotional. And I'm like, just in sports in general, what kid has the pleasure of watching their parents, watch their club or their team accomplish something as big as that, and seeing my dad emotional. My son, who's 16 months old, my dad has made him a Liverpool fan. So my son's now a Liverpool fan. So kind of having that connection to the club now, I think my heart has grown softer. And it makes me feel like I want to support Liverpool in some aspect. I don't know full blown, but now it's not as hard to watch their games and see if something goes in your guys' direction, actually be happy for you, because I have that sentimental attachment. And that's just because my dad's the best.
But also I have to give credit to my wife also, because, Liverpool is playing. So she says, how is your team doing? Like, she is everything, make sure everything is perfect. I don't have to go coffee. She always gives me coffee during the game, give me breakfast or sandwich, or it's even my wife is like
100%. Meanwhile, I get the text messages, because obviously I don't live with my parents, but I get the text messages saying our roof's going to blow off the house because Liverpool's losing and dad's losing his mind. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure. Like, so any significant others watching this, I think they're kind of the real MVPs, because they keep everyone sane.
But Caroline, is funny because every time when Liverpool was winning, she never texts me, says, oh, a very good game. But when they losing, every game she sent me text, that what's wrong with Liverpool? And I say, why she's texting? Why she's even making me more mad?
That's what we do.
I tell her that after every game, I say, when Liverpool winning, you don't text me.
What did I text you this year? This year,
yes. But
I was very nice.
Yeah.
You're getting there. You're getting there. You're getting there.
I'm getting there.
Bringing you closer
Honestly,
together. It's lovely.
Yeah. So and Liverpool fans, I feel like the messages I've gotten from Liverpool fans are so nice. Like, you guys seem like a very deep.
I keep telling you that.
Everyone's messaging me being like, Caroline, it's in your soul to be a Liverpool fan. Stop denying destiny and all this stuff. I'm like, maybe you guys are right. Maybe you're onto something.
You can be Milan. It's fine. Once you've got your club, you've got your club. Ultimately,
I mean, that's what I said. I'll never.
Yeah, we shared Divock Origi and Fernando Torres. That'll do for us, and a couple of others along the way as well. An absolute pleasure speaking to you both. Thank you so much for your time, Caroline. Let people know you mentioned your social channels. Let people know where they can find them on your YouTube and all that stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dan. On TikTok, I'm Caroline Szwed. That's my dad's last name. Caroline Szwed on Instagram, so SZWED, and then on YouTube the same thing, Caroline Szwed, and I also go by Caroline Salimi, which is the name I married into. So under one of those. But it's been a pleasure, Dan. Thank you so much. Congratulations to you and your team, because what you guys have built is incredible. And I also want to say one thing. If you guys are ever in Toronto and you want to watch a Toronto FC game, my dad and I have season tickets, so we can give you guys a couple. And Toronto FC fans, predominantly, I would say, are Liverpool fans. So it'll be nice for you guys to experience that. So you just shoot me a message if you ever find yourself in Toronto.
I appreciate that massively. Yeah, some like-minded people, some like-minded Reds to chat to as well. It's all good. And honestly, both of you, thank you so much for your time. Really enjoyed that. Everybody else, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. I'll see you soon.